guys, Tambo here with your Week 5 core report. Coming off a huge Week 4 where our guy Hoop shipped for $1 million, Week 5 was yet another busy one with our experts and members shipping left and right. Last Monday, RPS was all over the leaderboard, chopping the big Monday Night Football Draftkings Showdown contest. AP, Hoop, Statlers, Adam GQ6, and BX Boom all shipped the first place prize for $5,900 each. Humacom also hit that night, chopping first in several contests for $8,700. Later on in the week, Uncle T continued his heater, shipping for $11K in MLB. JT Hayes also hit for $20K in MLB. But our biggest hits came on the Sunday Week 5 main slate, where Big T continued his heater, hitting on his FanDuel core. Tony's core featured Josh Allen, Jeff Wilson, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Khalil Shakir, and Pat Freiermuth. By taking the discount with Shakir and going cheap at running back, Tony was able to round out his lineup, adding Gabe Davis for the double stack, as well as Raheem Mostert and the Patriots D, shipping Big T over $128,000 for the weekend. The Tone Dog was not alone, as our members rode that core to some big hits as well. C. Tangretti turned $21 into $1,800. DFS Dad hit for $8,800. Drew C.A. won $7,500. Jamie Walsh hit big for $20K. J-Dub 115 joined in with a $21,000 hit, and Kevin Barnhill shipped over $90,000. To top it off, our guy Swint parlayed a $333 ticket given away by Hoop on our live Sunday NFL show into $3,500. And the winning didn't stop there. Kay Fallick joined our free live Sunday Night Football Showdown show to lay out his strategy for the Bengals-Ravens game.
It is kicker season. We got the two best kickers in the league.
Thank you. Let's go, Kevin.
Get your 3 field goals from McPherson. Get your 2 field goals from Tucker, vice versa. Take your 10 points and go home.
Again, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube page, get it done now. It's easy to do and can actually help you learn how to win. Kay Fallick also called his shot in our premium Discord and used his member-provided game plan to ship $68,000. Our NFL content has been on fire all season, especially our showdown stuff. I myself use my main core for my attack plan on Monday Night Football to cap off a week of winning at RPS with a King of the Beach ticket. Sign up for a Run Pure Sports membership today and get in on the fun. You have nothing to lose by trying us out. Remember, you're not winning with us, you're watching us win. Until next time, let's keep running pure.
It's another Monday Night Football Showdown slate, and that means that the Print Factory is here. Broncos and the Chargers. What's more exciting than watching the Broncos play in prime time? I can think of about 30 things, including watching paint dry and watching some of those NFL games yesterday. Oh my God, it was terrible. But we're here. There's money to win, and we're going to do it today. And if I'm here and you're here, you know what else is here? The like button and the subscribe button. So hit the like. Get us to 1,000 likes. I don't want to hear any excuses. It's a no excuses Monday. We're going to get through it. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. 300 watching and 215 of you are absolutely some of the fucking laziest people I've ever seen in my life. Hit it and hit it now. We've got a special guest, as we always do on Monday. Chris Randone, C-Dome. Happy Monday. How are you? It looks like you're joining us from an adult film studio set. But talk to us. What's going on?
Oh, man. No, I appreciate it. Happy Monday to you guys. Pleasure to, I think this is the first time I ever did a show with you, JT, but always love watching you during baseball. A lot of great knowledge, got a lot of great stuff. So just happy to kick it with the guys today. It's unfortunate we got to talk about the Broncos, but, you know, we'll find a way to make it happen.
Hey, at least they're in a dome, C-Dome. Is there a coincidence that you're on today when Monday night's in a dome? I don't know. You'll tell the people a little bit more about that nickname later on, I'm sure. But, Tony, Broncos, Chargers, we'll get to that in just a second. How are you? How are you doing? I know you had a nice Sunday. There was some hijinks with some of the Run Pure guys. Happy Monday to you.
Yeah, looking forward to another weekend in the books. Mangone was here for a couple of days. JSU's still here, but man, I love Mangone, but he does wear you down a little bit after 3-4 days. The dude doesn't stop. He's constantly going, doesn't stop talking. I mean, it wore me down a little, so I had to take a little afternoon nap to recoup after the weekend. But excited to be on with my boys. Let's find some winners tonight. You guys talked about it. Thursday? Broncos, Colts. Worst game I've ever watched in my life. It was pure pain. And the worst thing you could possibly see after that is another primetime game the following week. But like always, is there a Millie Maker tonight, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think there is.
Millie
Maker tonight, big tournaments around the industry and opportunity. Let's find some opportunity here.
Now Mangone finally left, and is that because he ran out of contestants to play with on the basketball court? I mean, it seemed like he was challenging everyone. I think he wanted to play Grayson at one point, and I don't know how that would have worked out for him.
It's a tough weekend when you lose in multiple sports to everyone in the facility, and you got to move on to the 8-year-old to build your confidence up. It's a tough weekend for Mangone. He did get the W over 8-year-old Grayson, but I think that was his only W of the weekend. So it was tough on the old athletic front for Mangone. His golf swing, in all seriousness, was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, JSU's played golf for 2 weeks and he beat him. Like,
JSU on the golf course versus Mangone is something that we should tee up for the next RPS gathering, because I mean, you talk about watching the primetime games. It can't be any worse, right? It can't be any worse watching that.
It was similar to that. But I mean, I give JSU a pass because he's just learning the game. He had a pretty good swing. Couldn't putt or chip, but had a good swing. Mangone, though, I mean, he's actually played golf before. It was embarrassing out there.
All right.
And we did make Uncle T's in the chat. We made him ride with Mangone. Wore him down a little bit, I think. He had to go find those golf balls all day.
Yeah, Uncle T had to carry that team. It was not as much of a whipping as maybe it could have been. So good job, Uncle T. Tony,
I mean, to be fair, they did get whooped pretty bad. I mean, you're down crediting how bad we whooped their ass a little bit. I mean, they need to know. I
mean, Uncle T is my guy. I can't be making him look terrible. I mean, I'm just saying he had to carry the load there, and it could have been a lot worse. So that's all. We'll get into this game. Denver heads to Los Angeles. Denver 20.75 implied. The Chargers 24.75. It's a -4 total here. That's up 1 for the Chargers as a home favorite. 45.5 total is down 1. Denver, Melvin Gordon, questionable. Looks like he'll play. Eric Saubert, questionable. Looks like he'll play. Then a couple of potentially significant injuries to their defense and to their offensive linemen. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. For the Chargers, pretty healthy outside of the fact that Keenan Allen is doubtful and Justin Herbert's ribs are essentially taped together at this point in time. So, Tony, I'll stick with you because you're notorious for having these takes when the public sees things a different way. And when I broke this game down, I'm looking at pricing, I'm looking at ownership. Man, this seems like a situation where the Chargers are all priced up. Everybody's on the Chargers. Everyone thinks the Chargers are going to win. And we know the NFL is week to week. We learned yesterday a couple of things. Matt Ryan is not dead. Geno Smith is not Dan Marino. And Bill Belichick can still win games with Bailey Zappi or something like that at quarterback. So is there a world where Denver goes into the Dome in Los Angeles, SoFi Stadium, and just takes it to this very, very bad defense?
Definitely. And in the NFL, it's just funny how these work. Like, everyone's seen how bad Denver is. Everyone kind of likes the Chargers, Herbert, and the spread comes out at home. It's only -4. So you hear all the narratives like, oh, how can Denver keep up? Will they get blown out? All you ever got to do is just look at the line. And 99% of the time, it's going to lead you similar to where the game's expected to go. And that gives Denver a chance. The issue I have is, as a captain of watch the film type strategy, I just think they might be terrible. And we've talked about this all year on the shows. I just don't see a path where they dominate the game. Could it stay close and be ugly? Like, look at all their scores: 17-16, 16-9, 11-10, 32-23 versus the Raiders, and then 12-9 again last week. 4 of the 5 games have been absolute disgusting games. And I just don't see any path where they come in and dominate. So that eliminates all like Broncos heavy type teams. To me, doesn't mean you can't do it. You can do anything you want in Showdown. But to me, I just cannot make a case for that at all. So it's either a kind of mixed build where you think it stays close, or just full-blown Charger onslaughts for me. Granted, the line does look a little fishy. We hit on a few of those this weekend. I mean, we could go down the list. We'll do the review show this week for those of you that want to see that. But a lot of those trappy games, 49ers come to mind, where it's 4.5 point spreads. They lost this week, and the fishy side won, which I feel like that's always the sharp side. Tonight, I just think it might be a bad line. I just think the Broncos are not very good. That's where I'm at. I have to be heavier on the Chargers side, but we can still find some stuff from the Broncos. And I am a little worried that maybe it clicks here and there. I'm just not going to be on the side of trying to find out anymore. Last week, I thought they sucked, and I still jammed them in against the Colts, and I regretted it the entire freaking game. I'm not doing it again.
C-Dome, we'll bring this over to you. The Colts-Jaguars game shoots out yesterday. That's really been the only division game in the last couple of weeks that's you've seen a lot of points put up. We talked before the show about that Arizona-Seattle game letting down. This is another division game. Nathaniel Hackett looks completely lost and overmatched so far. And it's a situation where you could say on both sides, the Chargers really haven't seen a defense that's quite like the Broncos. However, the Broncos certainly have not seen an offense that's as potent as the Chargers offense. Where do you stand on this game in terms of the line, in terms of a potential upset, or in terms of something very rare, at least so far this season for primetime games, a beautiful shootout where we're all excited to watch the game and happy at the end of the night?
Yeah, I think the last point you just made, I think this game does have shootout potential. And the only reason is being Herbert. I mean, Herbert's going to sling it. They have a lot of people on offense that can really do a lot of damage. And I know that the defense is great. The only guy that really has been holding weight the most with this Broncos defense is Pat Surtain. And so I'm curious tonight with that matchup with Mike Williams, does he shadow him? How much will he be on Mike Williams? Surtain's only given up, I think, like 130 yards this entire season so far. 19 completions. I think like 30 something passes have been thrown his way, no touchdowns. So, I mean, this guy, he's like PFF grade, second highest rated corner in the league. His defense is stout. So whoever's matched up against him, I mean, it's kind of like a lockdown button right there. But I will say this, every time in these matchups, just like last night, we knew Jalen Hurts was a way better quarterback situation than Cooper Rush. And it's so easy to go towards that offense compared to the other quarterback, especially with the case that we have tonight. Herbert's obviously way better than Wilson right now. Wilson's hurt, or so they say he's hurt. He seems kind of lost. Nathaniel Hackett cannot call plays whatsoever. They hire a guy to come in to help him call plays, and he still makes horrible decisions, just like last week when Russell Wilson throws on that. You're throwing in the red zone, and you have the game locked up in one, and then you end up losing in overtime because you decided to throw on third down when you just run out the clock. So these decisions making by Hackett, he continues to struggle. That obviously it plays a huge effect into the game. But I will say this, I think the line is a little bit trappy. I am a little nervous about this Chargers defense. They spent a lot of money in the offseason. They brought in a lot of people to make this defense strong, but the communication is way off. If you've seen and look at the coverages, every single week, they're giving up big plays. Wide receivers are torching the secondary, especially on zone defense. This is a spot where Courtland Sutton can really expose this defense. He's big, he's quick. It's going to be hard to guard him. And to be honest with you, tonight, out of all the players, he holds the highest optimal leverage opportunity in the MVP slot, or the captain slot, excuse me. So I think, I do think it possibly could stay close. And if it does, I do think just based on weapons, yeah, it could definitely go into shootout potential.
I want to stick with you because you talk about DVOA, but first hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We've got 195 likes for 632 watching. It's just an unacceptable ratio. We're going to give you a minute and see if we want to stay on. Hit the like button now. But DVOA, in terms of the Broncos, really, really good against the pass and league average against the rush. Chargers, kind of the opposite. They're kind of league average against the pass, but really, really poor against the rush. Of course, the Broncos don't have a dependable run game. We talked about Melvin Gordon. Javonte Williams is out. Mike Boone is there. They signed Latavius Murray. Thank you for nothing. What, in terms of the DVOA, are you staying away from Mike Williams, more focused on the Denver passing game despite Russell Wilson's inefficiencies? And what about these running matchups? Because Austin Eckler, 20 touches the last 2 weeks, 35 points and 39 DraftKings points. He's priced up, but he seems to be the main piece of this Chargers offense. And if you think, which I agree with you, that the Broncos are likely to be able to mitigate Mike Williams, it almost seems that you just have to pay for Austin Eckler and maybe pay for him at captain.
I do like Eckler. Looking at it right now, Mike Williams, obviously, you're looking at, fourth or fifth potential of being the best player on this slate as far as highest scoring. But do I think there's leverage there in fading them? Absolutely. Do I think he can obviously have a great game? Yeah, sure. But the running game on both sides, one, I will say this: if Gordon fumbles again, obviously I think he could just get immediately pulled, and that boosts a little bit also of Latavius Murray. Latavius Murray in London looked kind of decent. He had a pretty big game. How many touches he gets tonight, I don't know. The comparison with the touches last week, Boone got 7, and I believe Gordon got like 15. But Boone averaged more per carry, and he also looked more explosive, at times. So that speed is obviously something to take into consideration, because if he breaks out one tonight, that's huge. And that can also separate you from the field. His price point is still a little high, 4,800. I would have liked it to see maybe in like the low 3s. But, I think, when it comes to Gordon, yeah, you can play him. I think there's a lot of upside there. People will say the revenge narrative, right? Going back against the Chargers. I don't mind it. But, don't be surprised if, let's just say, he doesn't look good or he fumbles, Boone comes right in, and let's just say, okay, well, we got Latavius Murray behind him as well. That's an interesting situation. I think if you're 115 in MME, I think you can kind of like play around with it. But on the other side, this offense, especially the last couple of weeks, it's just gone through Eckler, and I can't figure out a world where, how do I fade Eckler? And if I do, like, how do I replace him? And where am I going to get that upside as far as the touches, the volume? It's just really tough.
Yeah, and the snap count, Mike Boone, 30 snaps last week, Melvin Gordon, 41. So not quite an even split, but certainly room there for that to flip, as you say. And these coaches watch the film and they know that, hey, when you're approaching Melvin Gordon, go ahead, attack the ball, punch the ball. It's more likely to come out. Tony, in terms of looking at this, starting top down, your potential captains, we were talking about this too before we came on. Jake Ferguson in captain last night wins all the money. And we've got a situation here where you've got some condensed situations really on both sides of the ball with Portland Sutton, whether it's Gordon or Boone, right? That's really the main engines of that offense. You want to add Wilson in there just in case they somehow shot him up enough and he's good to go. And then on the other side, Eckler, Herbert, Williams, maybe a slight downgrade because of the passing defense. Where are you looking at it, captain? Or you see one of these cheaper guys like an Eric Saubert, who could potentially be a captain. He got a bunch of targets, 7 targets last week. Seems like he's taken over the tight end spot, at least the lead tight end spot, from Albert O, or as you like to call him, Albert O Points.
I like that. I like the one-liners here. That's good stuff. But first of all, before I get into the captains, I thought you guys brought up good points with the number and kind of the weaknesses of each team. Like the Broncos are really good versus the pass. Chargers are obviously a passing team more than a running team. Eckler's even like a dump off type guy. So not just a guy that's going to power eye through the middle and different things. So that's another reason the spread could be what it is, just throwing it out there. I mean, the matchup is kind of perfect for Denver if they can score points. So you look at what the Chargers have done this year. They've given up, after week 1 where they only gave up 19 to the Raiders, they've given up 24 or more points every single game. And they haven't exactly played powerhouse offenses. Cleveland, Houston, Jacksonville, and then the Chiefs, obviously, week 2, they were still kind of rounding into form as well. So 3 straight high-scoring games against them, against bad teams, honestly, or somewhat bad teams. So you guys bring up good points with the Denver side. And we need to take notice of that. And reverse line moves, everything kind of points to Denver in that direction. But captains, yeah, I made fun of last night's the $200 captainship, solo ship for someone. That's just not a build I'm ever going to be on. I just don't believe in it. You just need too much to happen. You need it to be somewhat low scoring, yet all the like PPR type guys get there. I don't like that. I would rather go basically any direction than that. A mid-range receiver that actually has upside, anything, but I won't be on a cheat. Even like a KJ Hamler. I know I was heavy on him last week, but he at least has upside. Like he can house anything. He's fast, electric. I like a play like that would be the cheapest I would go. But games like this where you know you got two heavy quarterbacks, Russ wants to throw, Herbert wants to throw, and I just want to go with the passing games. You got tons of receivers too, so there's going to be a lot of different captains tonight. There's going to be a ton of spread ownership. I mean, you could go right down the list. The Chargers have how many receivers that you could realistically play captain? Mike Williams, Josh Palmer, even DeAndre Carter could have a little bit of upside, similar to Hamler, where they're not a $200 captain, but I think both of those guys as a number 3 type receiver could hit the winner at a little higher price point than the mid price. They're at least receivers with a good quarterback that can give you that upside. And then the Denver side, obviously you got the two big guys, Sutton and Judy, and then KJ Hamler. Like I said, I'm waiting to see. I think last week Hinton was on the practice squad. He's for sure back up now? Do we know, JT?
I read that they signed him. I don't know when that happened because he had snaps and then he didn't have any last week. So I'm not sure where he is.
It was weird because the first several weeks, I really liked what he was doing. They were getting him involved a little bit deep. He didn't have a ton of targets. So I wanted to use him last Thursday. And for some reason, he was on the practice squad. Like he wasn't on the team last Thursday. And then that was what made me love KJ Hamler. So I want to pay attention to that situation tonight. Like who's going to be the number 3 receiver from Denver, because I want a decent amount of exposure to either one of those guys. And honestly, you could put them in the captain. I know it's cheaper and I'm kind of circling back and saying it a different direction, but I didn't realize Hinton was only 200. I actually think if he's active and we hear that he could be the number 3, which he probably won't be ahead of KJ Hamler, I wouldn't think. But we need to pay attention to the news and see that. As far as captains, though, I'm going to be pretty standard tonight. Sutton and Judy, kind of like C-Dome said, I think they match up better than Mike Williams does on the opposite side, where Denver's pass defense is tough. Mike Williams is clearly the number 1 and the big play type guy. I think they'll try to lock him down a little bit. Tough matchup tonight for him, which leaves some of these other guys open. But as far as just pure upside, I like these Denver guys more.
C-Dome, we'll bring this over to you and talk of captains. And we've been talking about Mike Williams. And if you feel like we seem to, that they're going to have a good shot at shutting down Mike Williams, well, they haven't been, Denver, as good against the number 2 and the number 3 wide receivers, which means you should have some interest in DeAndre Carter and Joshua Palmer. In terms of captains, are you looking to stay with one of the higher price guys, or is this a situation where you think Sutton's down in the 8Ks, that leaves you like a 12K for captain, and maybe some of the receivers? Of course, Austin Eckler is going to be the high price guy.
Yeah, I do like Sutton a lot in the captain. I do think Judy, he has big play potential, and if he does get 7 or 8 targets and one of those are a big play, you're sitting kind of pretty when it comes to the captain position. I do like Wilson a little bit in the captain, but believe it or not, I kind of like the running game in the captain.
Oh no, we were rolling along.
Listen, this is just my thought process, and I could be wrong, but it's just a theory. And obviously, if you're 150 lineups, you have to think of this narrative. But Wilson obviously hasn't looked as effective as maybe people thought, and the amount of money that they've invested in him for this year and for years to come. They're obviously struggling mightily against the run. And I like Boone's speed. And if Boone can get more opportunities as well, they've given up a touchdown to the backup running back every game this year besides one, so far. And Boone definitely has play potential. He can also catch the ball as well. But, and that's also going back to Melvin Gordon. If Melvin Gordon can get the volume, I think realistically they go into this matchup not utilizing Russell as much. And if they focus more on the running game, to keep the game within line, to give them a chance at the end, I could see a heavy amount of running happening in this game. And that's going to, move the chains. It's going to continue to put the ball in the running back's hands. You're going to see them consistently swap out. So I think that is a play that no one's really going to, that could be potentially great if that's the narrative. But outside of that, Eckler, Wilson, and Herbert, it's hard for me outside of those guys mainly, and outside of those running backs that I spoke of, to be put in the captain. Yes, I know Ferguson was last night, but and yes, it did win in an outright shift. But I couldn't do that tonight, even though I do like this tight end. I don't know if people have been speaking about him, that we'll get into. He's gonna be very low owned, that he just got activated, that could potentially maybe make a splash tonight. And we'll talk on that when the time comes.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Donald Parham, 27 snaps for the Chargers last week. You're talking about someone else?
No. Yeah.
Talking about the Broncos, dude.
Yeah, so there's a guy at a UCLA, Dolchich, I think is his name, if I'm not mistaken. He's fast. He runs like a 4.7 40, and he can actually play the slot. He gives very difficult matchup situations if they utilize him tonight. I don't know, but if I know people are talking about the other tight end, if I'm not mistaken, Saubert, right? Saubert, he's more like a blocking tight end. So when he's on the field, the reason why he plays way more than Albert O right now is because he can block way better than Albert O. Albert O is just not what people thought. And so you have this guy, if they do utilize him tonight, even if he plays like 15 snaps, whatever the case may be, because he's probably not really, deep into this offense. But I will say, kids out of UCLA, they put a lot of draft capital on him because they drafted him out of the 3rd round. So clearly they see a lot of potential with kind of the build that he has in this game. He's fast. He's got hands. Don't be surprised tonight if maybe he's out there in the mix and, he gets, a few catches and, who knows what happens.
Saubert, more of a blocking tight end, but he did get 7 targets last week, probably just because Albert O wasn't on the field. So that's interesting to look at that. Tony, in terms of flex positions, I know week to week, you've been pretty consistent with fading the cheapies, fading these guys that you really it's pure luck if they get 2 catches and get in the box and make it into the winning lineup. There are some, I guess, options here, although they did do a pretty good job. Even the backup running back for the Chargers, Joshua Kelly, is priced up at 6.4. Lat Murray, we talked about 1.6. Hamler is 3.0. Saubert's just 2K. And then Donald Parham, who really did well for the Chargers last season, started this year injured. He's 1.4, played 27 snaps in his first game last week. Where do you stand on these lower priced plays?
Yeah, in general, I've really started to like just playing guys that I can trust their consistency a little bit more, that still have upside, but you don't have to take these zeros over and over and over by playing those cheap guys. And over the long term, by doing that, I just think you give yourself so many more bullets to take something down. Whereas if you're rolling the dice on all these cheapies every slate, it's just really, really, even last night, you would have had to roll the dice, multiple guys in that cheap range to hit him. I think the projections like some of those other guys more. I don't know. I want to live in the mid-range. I like a lot of these guys too, mainly the receivers. I was on the same page with C-Dome for a lot, but I can't get on the running backs. I mean, we don't even know what Latavius could easily end up being like the main guy. They just have, I think that it's truly a 3-man. Like if obviously if Melvin fumbles, he's done. Last week he fumbled. They didn't even call it a fumble. He still got benched for a while and then he eventually came back in, but he's a mess right now. And granted, he'll probably screw me, but 8,200 for Melvin Gordon, I could literally never pay that. So he's going to have to prove it to me. He's going to have to beat me. I do like Boone more than him just because 4,800, 8,200, but I think you can play Latavius as well. I'm not convinced he won't get the most carries, especially inside the 10 where they're worried about Gordon fumbling. They're worried about, they just have never seemed to love Boone that much. Even last week, they weren't fully committed to him, even though the spot looked pretty good. I don't know about the running. And then you look at the Chargers side, Josh Kelly, like JT said, he's just expensive for a guy that's not going to get that much work. Could he score? Sure. But I don't ever see a path where Josh Kelly gets you like 20. It's just not there. Could he get you 12, like a touchdown and 50 yards or something? Probably. He could probably get that, but I want a little bit more upside. So I'm going to be off those guys. Back to my roots a little bit. There's just so many pass catchers in this game, counting the tight ends, the receivers. There's just so many ways I can go playing the passing game, and hope we actually see a nice high-scoring game here. Do love C-Dome's take on Dulcich, though. Third-round draft pick. They love him. Just from talking to some guys that know the Broncos pretty good, C-Dome described it perfectly. Salbert, more of a blocking type guy. Dulcich, 200. I like that a lot. They're excited about him too. Yeah, it's his first game, so who knows how many snaps he'll get. But he's that price point where you only need 15 to 20 opportunities tops, and that should be more than enough in this offense to pay off the price tag. I don't know. I'm way more on the passing games for sure.
And that's despite the fact that the Chargers just can't stop the run at all.
I just think that if it was like one guy, I would love it. I honestly like the price tag of Murray, and no one's going to play him because obviously he's third on the depth chart. But Melvin Gordon literally is one play away from just being dust, like cut, waived, like they're done with him if he fumbles again. The dude's fumbled like 8 times in 3 weeks, it feels like. So he's one thing away. I like Boone, but how can I play Boone over a kicker or even a defense? I just can't do it. So I don't know. I don't like it.
We'll get to defenses here in a minute. The show has been known for bold calls. You heard it here first. Melvin Gordon's getting waived after this game.
Yeah.
If he fumbles again. So I love to see that.
Who was the dude? There was one slate recently where I said a dude might get a D. Washington. What's his name? I said he might get a DNP, and he did finally play in the second half, but he didn't play the whole first half.
Yeah, I think you might have been talking about Antonio Gibson or something.
Yeah, Gibson.
Yeah. Latavius Murray, by the way, projected to be 3% owned. So if he gets in there, if Gordon and remember, Gordon's questionable coming into this game. He gets activated, he gets dinged up, he fumbles, something like that. Now you've got a 50% share between Boone and a guy that's 3% owned at 1.6K against one of the worst rushing defenses in the league. So potentially a big edge there.
Why are we confident that it's not just Latavius? Why could it not be?
I don't think we're confident at all in what Nathaniel Hackett's going to do. And this is a situation where, remember, and we've talked about this last season with Javonte and Melvin Gordon. It was, why does the old coaching staff continue to play Melvin Gordon? In comes Hackett, and we all think, hey, this is going to resolve itself. It's going to be Javonte, and Gordon's going to get a few snaps a game. That absolutely didn't happen. Now Javonte gets hurt, and it's still a 50-50 split, but now they've added Latavius to be a third man in. So it's really difficult to be confident, but it's easy to get overweight on Murray's 3% ownership if you're multi-entering. It's easy if you wanted Mike Boone 10 touches last week. If you wanted to get overweight on his 14% projected ownership, it's easy to do that because the Broncos are going to come in under owned. That's the way this looks. Yeah. Pricing be damned. It looks like the heaviest ownership is going to be on all these Chargers. C-Dome, we'll bring it over to you in terms of flex plays. Any of these cheap guys that stand out to you other than Dulcich, who was an interesting wild card here, making his first game of the season. And to answer the question from before, Kendall Hinton signed to the active roster. I still think we'll have to wait and see when inactives come out to make sure that he's there, because it has been primarily a 3 wide receiver set with Cortland Sutton, Judy, and Hamler the last few weeks in Denver.
Yeah, I think it's standard with the sprinkling the kickers and the defenses and, doing some unique ones where I always like to play the defense against the quarterback, especially in this case, if Wilson decides that, he wants to sack fumble, recovery for a touchdown, you have the Chargers defense, but yet you're still playing Wilson. It's easy for me to knock off people right now. I think the Murray call is very interesting simply because if Gordon does fumble, and he gets removed, I think the goal line carries, if they do get into the goal line, even though their red zone offense has been atrocious. So you would think that, when they get to the red zone, they would try to really just hammer it in. Murray could be the guy. He did look good in London. I mean, he had a pretty solid game. And, this is a situation where could he get in the mix? Yeah, absolutely. But guys like Albert O, it's easy for me to write off. KJ Hamler does have upside if he can catch a big one. It's just, okay, is that going to happen? You know, so far this year, he's got like what, 2 catches, 3 catches, whatever the case may be. It's just not enough to get me to really stake a lot of ownership in him with multi-entering. I do like Big T said, I like a lot of the mid-range guys, you know, especially you could sprinkle in some of these pass catchers. Everett had a horrible game last week. I believe he had, you know, a few targets. He had 1 catch. Before that, I mean, you know, he was one of the highest rated fantasy tight ends coming into week 5 against Cleveland. He just got completely shut down. He's always an option as well in the passing game. Joshua Palmer's an option as well. So I think just getting different in those areas, you know, and just really putting focus on the guys who have the highest upside at captain is probably one of the best ways tonight, because the difference between like the top guys such as like Sutton and, you know, Herbert, you know, Mike Williams, Eckler, these guys, they have such high ceilings, and these other guys just don't really have that, you know, type of ceiling. And, you know, it's easier for these guys to hit their floor. So I'll stick with those guys. And then with the flex, you know, sprinkling a little bit here and there, but more importantly, kickers, defenses, and just fading guys like Albert O and Carter and Parham and Zorba. I can do that.
All right. Big T, we'll bring it back over to you. But first, 350 likes, 959 watching. We absolutely have to get to 550 in order to give Big T's bold call of the slate here before we get out of here. You got about 10 minutes, a little bit less, because Grayson's got to get to basketball practice on time. I almost got fired last week because I let us run long. Actually, it was K Fallick's fault. I'm not going to take
it. Was Fallick.
But let's get us over to 550. You get the bold call, and maybe the after hours crowd will pick up the slack once again and get us over that 1K. Kickers, defenses, Tony, I know you're going to have your player pool up. You're going to have your cores up. You're going to have your thoughts up on the Run Pure site later on. That's why you should become a member, not just hitting the like button and hitting the subscribe button, but get in there, become a member, get in the Discord, because people are in the Discord making really lineup changing information right before the slate happens. Inactives are going to come out about an hour, maybe a little bit more or less before this game happens, and we'll have some more information in our Discord. So go ahead, runpuresports.com and subscribe after you hit the like button so that we can get the bold play. Kickers, defenses, do you have a lean on whether or not you're going to be over or under the field on either of these defenses tonight? And then who do you like in the kicking game? The Broncos, of course, with one of the best in the game in Brandon McManus, and Dustin Hopkins is back for the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at some of the spots like the Chargers have faced, I was kind of talking about it before, but Cleveland, Houston, Jacksonville, they somehow scored -4 versus Jacksonville. This Chargers defense might just be way worse than I give it credit. What's the deal with Bosa? Is he out, or do we know?
I believe he's been out for a while, but I will check on that.
Yeah, I mean, either way, they just have struggled. They really don't have that many sacks after week 1. They got 4 versus Houston, but 0 versus Cleveland, and Jacksonville only 1 versus Kansas City. They really they don't have any touchdowns. They haven't done much outside of week 1. Yeah. So I actually don't have a ton of interest in the Chargers, and I think a lot of people will use the Chargers in their onslaught type teams where they think Denver sucks. We all saw it Thursday. They might come in higher owned than we think. They might come in like 30% even. We kind of saw that last night where I think they'll just be over owned. So I actually might fade the Chargers as a somewhat sneaky take, I think, because a lot of people are going to get exposure to this spot, and I don't love it. Even if the Broncos don't win this game, I think they'll be able to move the ball a little bit on this Chargers defense. So I think you can get some leverage on the field just fading them. The Broncos D, though, I actually like the Broncos D, even as C-Dome talked about and before Whistles talked about it last year as well. One of the things I've really, really liked, if I'm heavy on Herbert and I want to go pass heavy, I think the Broncos defense really fits good in that type of build more than people realize. We always say the example, but first drive of the game, maybe Herbert throws a pick 6 or something. That is like literally the dead nut for your build if you got Herbert, pass catchers, and the Chargers defense, or the Broncos defense, I mean. it's just a dead nut build. So I don't think even, and then at the end too, you could get some sort of just lucky play, and the combination's always very, very unique. So I will be heavy on the Broncos defense, and they should go lower owned too, just because for whatever reason, when people jam the Chargers, they don't want to play the Broncos D, even though I think the correlation's very good. And what was it? The showdown slate where I heard a ton of people make fun of this team that shipped a millie. I genuinely think it's a great build. It had 4 Bears, I want to say. I think it was 4 Bears. I could be talking about the wrong game even.
Steinberg's.
Was it 4 Bears? And then the only 2 from the other side was the defense and the running back.
Yeah.
In my head, that is a great team. That sure, in a normal build, would you want that? Probably not, but this is showdown, and it makes sense. We always want the D with the running back, which is awesome. Passing game, that's what he had. Quarterback and the captain, 2 pass catchers. So that's awesome. And then the last play is a running back, which doesn't seem to correlate, but that volume. It's all about volume on showdown right there. I thought it was an incredible build. And I wouldn't be stunned tonight. Like, say you like Randone's thoughts. You play Mike Boone, you play the Broncos D, you play Herbert, you play Ecker, you play 2 pass catchers. How is that not a great build in showdown? It's a freaking great build, and it makes sense. So many things point to that being a great build. So I don't know what people are talking about. The good news is I don't think people still have any clue how to play the showdown format. The stuff they say is ridiculous. And the edge is bigger than ever in showdown.
Candace Reynolds is in chat. She says that I've got to powder my dome because I'm blinding everyone, but she also hit the like button. So that's fine, Candace. If you all hit the like button, we will be able to get into the Run Pure Sports studios where they will come and they will powder my fucking head for me. So hit the like button so we can get into the Run Pure Sports studios. We're at 423. C-Dome.
We never talked to C-Dome about C-Dome's one of the original Manscaped fans. He did the commercial. JT always endorses the Manscaped brand as well.
I love it. I mean, I by the way, I need a new one. I mean, I don't know if they're a sponsor anymore, but I used to bring the thing and let it vibrate here for the people and show them what they could get if they got a Manscaped. It looks like, I mean, that's a professional. That's your hair, your beard, the mustache. That's professionally done, though.
Hey, well, welcome to the Dome family. All right. That's all I gotta say.
All right, let's go. We got 4 minutes left to get to 550. I'm going to ask C-Dome for his final thoughts on the game. And if we don't get to 550 in the next 4 minutes, we're not going to get a bold take, but Big T will give you a little nugget to entice you to hit the like button and then go ahead and subscribe. C-Dome, final thoughts on this game. How heavy are you going to be on your guy Dulcich?
Yeah, I'll have a pretty fair amount, I think. Probably, 5%, 5 to 6%. I think it'll just outweigh.
You need more, C-Dome. Take it up a notch.
All right, 10%.
That was a good take. You had he's going to crush.
If he gets on the field, I just feel like, it provides a mismatch. And I think, he's got some upside.
He's going to ship for you. That's my bold take. C-Dome shipping with his boy.
That would be sick. I think for me, when I look at this game, it is a must win for the Broncos on so many levels, not just for the standings purposes, but because of what's happened these first 4 or 5 weeks within the franchise, the play calling, the coaching, the way Russ has played. It's just under a lot of scrutiny, man. And they paid him a lot of money. I do think that because of how weak this Chargers defense has been to also some very poor teams, I think it's time that we see maybe a little bit of upside here with the Broncos. So I like the Broncos tonight with the points. And then going into the build, I do love Cortland Sutton at MVP or captain, excuse me. It's probably going to be my highest one at captain. And then the pass catchers, sprinkle them in, Judy, alongside with Eckler. And I think when it comes down to it, I'm going to be over the field on Mike Boone. I'm going to stick with my call. That's what it takes to win. And I think Mike Boone gets into the end zone. And I think, we see some nice flashes of Mike Boone tonight. So hopefully he's on the winning team with me, with Dulcich, and take it home.
I love it. I mean, I'm just envisioning in my head the type of lineup you can build with Dulcich and the Broncos defense, and it's mouthwatering. I can't deny it. It's mouthwatering. Just like the fact that it's sad and it hurts me that we're not going to be able to give out your bold take of the day because we can't get to 550 with 1,047 watching.
Damn.
But go ahead, give us your final thoughts on this game. And of course, for everyone, if you're not a member yet, go ahead, get over Run Pure Sports, subscribe. You get Big T's player pool. You get his chords. You get his thoughts. He even does a nice tidy little write-up. 4 sentences. Even if you're half illiterate, you can understand the write-up and build winning teams.
Yeah, real quick too, because we always forget. I always forget till we get off, and then someone says something. But FanDuel, real quick, C-Dome's boy Dulcich is 5K, and every show I talk about the value of that 5K price point. Where nights like tonight, just pull it up for example. If you want to play the 2 quarterbacks, which on FanDuel I would like to play the 2 quarterbacks. You're already down to 9,100 for the last 3, or 9,300 for your last 3 spots. So it gets a little thin, but the minute you put a guy like Dulcich in at 5, you're right back to 11.5 for your last 2 spots, which really gives you some flexibility to even go up and play an Eckler, Mike Williams, a Sutton. It really gives you flexibility, that 5K price point that I don't think a lot of people utilize. And on DK, everyone utilizes the 200 spot here and there to get upside in their teams, but no one does it on FanDuel. And a guy like Dulcich, all it's going to take is him to break one. C-Dome talked about his speed. You don't need 15 points at 5K. You literally get a touchdown. And you get these high upside guys that like hardly anyone's going to play 3 studs together because it's hard to fit. It's just hard to do it. You also have guys on FanDuel like Josh Palmer, 8,500, looks way too cheap. Everett, 8K. C-Dome's boy Mike Boone, 7,500. I think the key to FanDuel, which is obvious, but playing these studs as much as you can. Herbert, Eckler, Russ Wilson, Mike Williams, Sutton, those 5 mainly. Get as much. Can you fit? You can't fit 4 of them, I'm sure. Yeah, you can't fit. Obviously,
but I saw someone say that 4.7 40 isn't fast, but I mean the guy's like 250, 6'4".
A tight end running that's not fast.
Yeah.
Who said that?
Yeah, I saw someone in chat earlier, but I mean, shit. If that's me on the field and I got to guard that, I'm sorry, that's not happening. So that's
very fast for this Chargers defense. They can't guard anything. So
and tight ends are huge. Like there's a difference between some little dude running 4.7 and some massive dude running 4.7.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much running down the field.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, as far as like just final takes, I mean, we basically talked about it all. But sneaky guys I like are KJ Hamler. I like the Dulcich call. I like it even more than that. I'm going way heavier than 10%. I'm gonna beat C-Dome with his own play because I love that play, Dulcich and Latavius. So all my sneaky plays are on the Broncos side. I think there's paths where Latavius literally gets like 3 touchdowns. It's out there. It could easily happen where he gets all the red zone carries. So you're telling me a guy's 1,600 and he has paths to victory? I mean, you don't have, like you guys said, you don't have to go crazy. Play 20% of these guys, and you're way above the field.
You heard it here first. Latavius captainships all the money tonight with Dulcich at the flex and leave like 6K on the table. That's it. It's easy. Easy game. Guys, go ahead, hit the like button on your way out as this exits. For C-Dome, Chris Randone, Big T, Tony Niehaus, Simon, as always. Simon, you did a great job today, perhaps better than any of us in moderating the people in chat and getting them to hit the like. Now, please get us out of here.